Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I apologize for a little late start this morning, so I have one announcement before we start. About 15 minutes ago, we received word, I received word from Anasuya that Chandamata Swami has indicated that he can't make it to give a class this morning on Zoom. So I was called last minute to fill in for him. So that's what the situation is. I had to prepare in a very short time. But anyway, we will go on with the class as usual. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jayo Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stotra Satashimaras Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shilapad Ki Jai Jayo Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stotra Satashimaras Divine Grace Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय Nitai Gaur Brahmanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, Lord Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashnaya, Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti, Bhakti Tira Swami, Tinamani, Namaste, Krishna Padaya, Prabhupada, Chitata, Shri Guru, Karmi, Shakti, Bhakti Tira, Tinamani. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashnaya, Bhutale, Srimati Chandamani, Swami. Narayana Namaske Chanarum Chevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gudirayat Nashtaprayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam text is from Canto 2, Chapter 4, and text 22. And for those of you who just came in, Chandamali Swami was supposed to give a class, but he got pulled last minute on something that was urgent for him to do. So he's asked that we fill in for him. Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, text 22. Prachodita yena pura saraswati Pitan vatajasya satim spriting fidi Swalakshana praduravut kilasyata Samirishinam rishabha prasidatam Prajodita jena pura saraswati Pitan vatajasya satim spriting fidi Swalakshana praduravut kilasyata Samirishinam rishabha prasidatam Prachodita yena pura saraswati Vitamba chadasya satim sitim hridi Swalakshana pradurabhirkriya satam Samirishinam rishabha prasidatam. Word for word, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Prachodita, inspired. Jena, by whom? Pura, in the beginning of creation. Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Vitanvata, amplified. Ajasya, of Brahma, the first created living being. Satim, smritim, potent memory. Riddhi in the heart, Swa in his own, Lakshana aiming at, Pradurabhut was generated, Kila as if, Ashata from the mouth, Sa he, me unto me, Rishinam of the teachers, Rishaba the chief, Prasidatam be pleased. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. May the Lord, who in the beginning of creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As we have already discussed herein before, the Lord as a supersoul of all living beings from Brahma to the insignificant ant, endows all with the required knowledge potent in every living being. A living being is sufficiently potent to possess knowledge from the Lord in the proportion of 50/64, or 78% of the full knowledge acquirable. Since the living being is constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord, he is unable to assimilate all the knowledge that the Lord possesses himself. In the conditioned state, the living being is subject to forgetting everything after a change of body, known as death. This potent knowledge is again inspired by the Lord from within the heart of every living being, and it is known that as the awakening of knowledge, for it is comparable to awakening from sleep or unconsciousness. This awakening of knowledge is under the full control of the Lord, and therefore we find in the practical world different grades of knowledge in different persons. This awakening of knowledge is neither an automatic nor a material interaction. The supply source is the Lord himself, Dhyam Pati. For even Brahma is also subject to this regulation of the Supreme Creator. In the beginning of the creation, Brahma is born first without any father and mother, because before Brahma, there were no other living beings. Brahma is born from the lotus, which grows from the abdomen of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and therefore he is known as Aja. This Brahma, or Aja, is also a living being, part and parcel of the Lord. But being the most pious devotee of the Lord, Brahma is inspired by the Lord to create, subsequent to the main creation by the Lord through the agency of material nature. Therefore, neither the material nature nor Brahma is independent of the Lord. The material scientists can merely observe the reactions of material nature without understanding the direction behind such activities, as a child can see the action of electricity without any knowledge of the powerhouse engineer. This imperfect knowledge of the material scientists is due to a poor fund of knowledge. The Vedic knowledge was therefore first impregnated within Brahma, and it appeared that Brahma distributed the Vedic knowledge. Brahma is undoubtedly the speaker of the Vedic knowledge, but actually he was inspired by the Lord to receive such transcendental knowledge as it directly descends from the Lord. The Vedas are therefore called aparusheya, or not imparted by any created being. Before the creation, the Lord was there, Narayana Paro Vyaktat, and therefore the words spoken by the Lord are vibrations of transcendental sound. There is a gulf of difference between the two qualities of sound, namely prakrita and aprakrita. The physicist can deal only with the prakrita sound, or sound vibrated in the material sky. And therefore, we must know that the Vedic sounds recorded in the symbolic expressions cannot be understood by anyone within the universe unless and until one is inspired by the vibration of the supernatural aprakrita sound, which descends in the chain of specific succession from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, and from Narada to Vyasa, and so on. No mundane scholar can translate or reveal the true import of the Vedic mantras, hymns. They cannot be understood unless one is inspired or initiated by the authorized spiritual master. The original spiritual master is the Lord himself. And the succession comes down through the sources of parampara, as clearly stated in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So unless one receives the transcendental knowledge from the authorized parampara, one should be considered useless, nishpala mata, even though one may be greatly qualified in the mundane advancements of arts and science. Shukadeva Goswami is praying to the Lord by dint of being inspired from within by the Lord, so that he could rightly explain the facts and figures of creation as required by Maharaj Pariksit. The spiritual master is not a theoretical speculator like the mundane scholar, but is Shrotiyam Brahma Nishtam. Okay. Oma Ginati Mirandasya, Gyana Gana Shalakaya, Chakshu Umritam Jena Tasma Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Pacharini Nirveshesha Sunyabadi Paschatya Shitayani. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premapadaya Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurachate Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Okay. So the translation again. May the Lord, who in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. Hare Krishna. So this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking before answering the question posed by Maharaj Pariksit. Maharaj Pariksit had asked Shukadeva Goswami to describe the Lord's creative energy. That is creative, and when we talk about creation, we're talking about the material world. The spiritual world is manifested. So Maharaj Pariksit wants to know about the creative energy of the Lord. Before Shukadeva Goswami answers the question, and this is done by pure devotees, practically almost as a general rule, that before they answer questions, they go into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, praising him about his qualities. And as much as they can remember about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will actually shed that light first. They will talk about the Lord, and then they would also pray to ask for help in doing what they've been asked to do. So, may the Lord be pleased with me. The text before that, Shukadeva Goswami also talks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead in wonderful glorification, and he always ends with, may he be pleased with me. In other words, he wants the Lord to be satisfied with the effort that he is putting in devotional service. He is the one that's the speaker, and of course, Maharaj Pariksit, as well as many devotees of high caliber, sages, and they're all there at the bank of the Ganga listening. So, Shukadeva Goswami is going to explain the creative energy of the Lord, but he prays first. So that's our first lesson that we learn. Before that we request things from the Lord, we should do what the pure devotees do. Praise and glorify the Lord first. And especially for us here in the material world, who now have been given the opportunity to be trained in Krishna consciousness by the spiritual master, it is important to praise the spiritual master. He's a representative of Krishna. And the one important thing that we need to remember is that without the spiritual master, we wouldn't have much knowledge about who Krishna is at all. And that's why in Sanskrit we say, Om Agina Timirandasya. Om, I was born Agina, ignorant, not much knowledge. Om Agina Timirandasya Jnana Jnana Shalakaya Chakshu Umlitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, means I didn't know anything. What I thought I knew was actually not relevant at all. It's material stuff. Mm. Even religion didn't help me very much. Mm. They have to be convinced of that. And the bona fide spiritual master is the one that started teaching us. My own personal life, I heard Krishna consciousness through recordings. At that time in the 90s, we were using cassette recordings. So 3 cassette tapes that were given to me by one Mataji. I listened, and the answers all kept coming. Answers to questions that I've had for a long time, that any religion that I went to, and I went to several to try to find out answers to my questions, none of them could answer those questions. They were smack in the Bhagavad Gita. They were in the Bhagavad Gita. And Bhakti Maharaj at that time was preaching and teaching Bhagavad Gita in a conversational way, almost, starting from material things that we knew, then metaphysical things that he knew, and then going to Bhagavad Gita, all in a conversational way. It's called bridge preaching, starting from what people know to, bridging to the transcendental knowledge. It was very inspiring to me. So the spiritual master is the one that imparts knowledge to us, but the knowledge is from Krishna. It's from the parampara. And Krishna is the top of the parampara. It's at the top. So Shukadeva Goswami is praying, may the Lord, who in the beginning of creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart. He taught Brahma about creation. Remember? Shukadeva Goswami has been asked about the creative energy. So the second creation was from Lord Brahma. First comes from Karanodakshaya Vishnu. The universes come from his pores. Then from each one universe, Mahavishnu or Karanodakshaya Vishnu expands to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So there's a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu for each universe. And from his navel, Lord Brahma is born. The stem of a lotus flower has the arrangement of all the planets that are going to be in that one universe. That's in the stem. The top, which is the flower itself, on top of that, Brahma is born. So Brahma is the one that was given the knowledge about creation. That's why Shukadeva Goswami is saying how, not only the fact that Brahma got the knowledge, but how he got the knowledge was also explained. The Lord inspired him from within his heart. And when we think about the heart, then what really happened here? When you say from within his heart, the subtle body is in the heart. The subtle body is in the heart. So the mind, the intelligence, and ego is in the heart, subtle body. So clearly, if things have to be taught to Brahma's mind and Brahma's intelligence, it has to go through the subtle body. And the subtle body is in the heart. Therefore, the inspiration was given within his heart. That's why the word heart is there. And sometimes we get a little bit muddled in our understanding of the mind and the brain. But actually, there was one class here given by Chandamali Swami, the own guru. Our guru, he's my Shiksha guru, and Diksha for many of you, about the brain and the mind. And as he explained it, the devotee that asked the question had some background in science, specifically about computers. And he made a very nice analogy that if you look at a computer Then the hardware is actually the brain, because the brain is not subtle, it's material. The brain's material. It's right in our heads, we know. But the information that's in there, like the software, that's the mind. That's the mind. So like that. So the brain is like the hardware, the computer, and the mind is like the the software. And then the intelligence, that is the one that makes us discern. This is good for you, this is not good for you. Because the mind just simply accepts and rejects things. Sankalpa, vikalpa. It just accepts things. I like this. I don't like this. I want it. I don't want it. That's the mind. Mm-hmm. The intelligence says, this may be good for you. That's all right. This one that you're thinking of, excuse me, there may be some consequences that may not be good for you down the line. So rethink this. Do you really want it? Should you use it? Like that. So the intelligence is the one that makes us discern or look through and look critically at what we say we like or don't like. Now, as far as don't like, there are many things to the negative that the intelligence could help us to discern. But for devotees, you become a devotee, there's more. Sometimes you have to do tapa. Brahma had to do tapasya. He was told to do tapasya first. We also do tapasya. Because as soon as we become a devotee, life changes for us. What happens? Well, our wake up time gets changed. Many of us know that. And because of Krishna consciousness, we wind up getting up earlier than usual. Many people that are materialists get up early because they have to be at work at a certain time. That's the reason, the motivation for them getting up. But devotees get up because that time is Brahma Muhurta time. And it's the best time of the day. And we want to give it to Krishna. So then we get up at that time. So we get up at that time, not because we like so much. After a while, we get used to it, because if you repeat something over a period of time, you are going to get used to it and it will become a habit. But this is what we do. Many, many religionists will think 4:30 in the morning and they are in quote unquote church already. These people, what's the matter with them? They can think like that. Or they can also think, especially for those of us in cold, temperate, climate that's very cold. The devotees go out on Harinam. Harinam, when it's freezing, everybody walks out and they want to get out of the cold and get into the next building as soon as possible. And the devotees are out there chanting the holy name of the Lord. So the devotees do a lot of unusual things. By kami standards, of course, they'll say it's unusual. But the devotees just give their hearts to the Lord. And also spread the holy name, no matter what the consequence, the weather situation is. And so we do things just to please the Lord, and that's our tapasya. Things that the body would normally complain, not wanting to do, we do anyway. And that helps us to develop more and more love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Remember, in our situation, we're conditioned souls. Those in the spiritual world, they're fully in love with Krishna. But we challenged Krishna's authority and we wanted to be at his position. And he said this will not be good for us. And we still insisted, as the Papa said, we forced Krishna's hand. So we got put in this place, material world, to try to play God. Because we wanted to play God, but you can't do that in the spiritual world. And now we have all kinds of situations that we're facing. That is difficult. And sometimes we just, we'll put up with it, and this is life. But this is not life. Life is, the life here is difficult. The real life is a life in the spiritual world, and that is blissful. And that's why Srila Prabhupada wants us to go. But in the first, this where we are at now, Shukdev Goswami is being asked about the creative energy. And that is also very inspiring because you get to know the power of the Lord just based on the creative energy. So it's very, very, very important to us too to know and to understand the Lord and the Lord's potencies that He has. So in the purport, see the Prabhupada says, from all the living beings, Brahma, down to the insignificant ant, the Paramatma, the soul, the super soul in our hearts, is endowed all with the required knowledge. It's there potentially. Now, how to access it depends on the person's own free choice. But even that being the case, Sri Prabhupada makes it clear that we are just part and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are very, very, very tiny part and parcels of the Lord. So in our position, we cannot attain the full knowledge. We have 78% of the knowledge. That's still wonderful because knowledge is as we well know, we keep hearing and hearing and hearing because it's so inspiring. So the Lord understands and He knows that the living being is not able to assimilate all the knowledge that the Lord Himself possesses. So on top of that, we are in a conditioned state, and the way the mind is in Kali Yuga, we tend to forget. And when we die and take another body, then what happened in the previous life, we forget all of it. So this is our situation. As Krishna explained to Arjuna in the Battle of Kurukshetra, on the battlefield before the war started. And Krishna says, this was explained to the sun god. Bhagavad Gita was explained to the sun god. And Arjuna is asking, but Krishna, that was millions of years ago. And you're here now. So how could that have happened? And Krishna explained, I have been with you millions of lifetimes, and many things have happened. You've forgotten, but I remember all of it. That's our situation. Arjuna was actually representing us. So, yes, the forgetfulness is there, but actually, Krishna also, the same as Paramatma, gives us a little break because being in our heart, as it said in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15, Salvasya chaham hridishanivishta, mata spriti jnanam apohanam cha. He says, I'm seated in everyone's heart. For me comes knowledge and the power to remember it or forget it. All of that is being given by the Lord. So if we submit ourselves at the lotus feet of the Lord, then He will run our life in such a way that we remember when we need to remember in a very timely way. Krishna will lead our lives literally for us. We just have to be the puppets and allow the spiritual master to be the puppeteer in our lives. Run our lives, and if we do that, you could be a little bit advanced puppet. It means you can ask questions of the puppeteer. That's allowed. So we are intelligent puppets that can ask puppet because whatever the puppeteer tells us we're going to do, that's how much of puppet we are. But we can also ask, so we can inquire submissively, and then we're also supposed to serve the spiritual master. So through that, the knowledge comes. This situation, the reason we're making that comparison is Shukadeva Goswami is spiritual master, and Maharaj Pariksit is disciple. So this is a disciple-guru relationship here, this conversation. So we can have the same thing with our spiritual master or any spiritual master that is in this line of parampara and ask questions. And by that, and we live by those answers given, then we can improve our lives and become more and more excited in Krishna consciousness. Remember, enthusiasm is extremely important. So the knowledge was inspired by the Lord, and it's inspired within the heart of every living being. Hmm? So when we come to Krishna consciousness, this is the gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us, waking us up from our sleep to make us understand one thing, that we are in a world that is not good for us. We will never be happy in this world. In fact, Radha Swami one time in the lecture said that this world is designed to give us trouble. Hmm? And you might think, oh, Krishna must be very, very, very unkind to us, for lack of a better way to put us in the world to give us trouble. The point is, if he didn't do that, what would we do? We would stay in the material world forever. So he has to put it in such a way that, put a little fire under us to want to get out. So we can look at the distress that comes in our lives as a way to remind us we're not home. You could just tell the mind, if I was home, I wouldn't be going to have these problems that I'm having now. Because home in the spiritual world, everything is right, everything is wonderful, and I'm blissful all the time. Everyone around me is loving. I serve them, they serve me, and we have access to so much. We think about the wealth in the material world, and many people want to make a lot of money because, of course, money can buy a lot of material things, and that is somehow satisfactory to some people. But sometimes we have not, many of us are not aware of the wealth that's in the spiritual world. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it stated that, of course, everything belongs to Krishna. In the spiritual world, they understand that. It's in the material world, people think that I own this, I own this, I own this. Maharaj Yashabadeva has already debunked that. But in the spiritual world, they understand that everything belongs to Krishna. But they have access to it, though. That's the important thing. They have access. Now, Brihad Bhagavatamrita says, every single living entity in the spiritual world has access to wealth that is about the wealth in a universe. Now, let that sink in. The wealth of a universe, never mind the wealth of a planet, the wealth of the universe. This much is available to every living being in the spiritual world. So why should we want to be here and try to struggle for wealth that after a while Krishna will come as death and take it all away? It doesn't make sense. So that's why in material life we lead as necessary, things that is necessary for us to be able to go on, keep the body together with the soul, and then use the bulk of the time to serve. Serve devotion, serve the devotees, serve Guru, and serve the deity. But as far as wealth is concerned, and we saw that in Rajarishis, Maharaj Yudhishthira has a lot of wealth. What did he use? First of all, he wasn't attached to it. And whenever he used it to serve Krishna. And that's the way it should be. That is the way it should be. So even while we are in this material world, our consciousness should be how to serve Krishna, how to serve Guru, and especially how to serve devotees. The more service we give to devotees, the happier Guru is. And when Guru is happy, then Krishna is also happy. So never put down the opportunity to serve devotee when it comes up. That time comes up. So much so that we can do one thing that's actually quite important in the service of devotees. We talk among each other. We know that. We talk among each other. We talk about all kinds of things. So one thing a devotee can do that is really, really serious about serving devotees is to listen to what's being said. And when you listen and the things that are being talked about, you get to know the devotee's needs from just a conversation. And from knowing the devotee's needs, then you can figure out how can I help? How you can help this devotee, how you can help that devotee. Serving devotees gives so much credit to us. Many of us tend to just kind of downplay that it's important to serve the deity. But it said in the Shastra, if we serve the deity and ignore devotees, we are Kanishta, third class. So serving devotees means that everything about Krishna is important. Just like a person who is rich and you can't give anything to him because they already own everything that you yourself can think of. They already have it. But they have a pet, and the pet doesn't have anything. So if you serve the pet, then the master becomes happy with us. In the same way, devotees can be looked at as pets of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we serve the devotees, then we get the pleasure of the Lord. And from that, we ourselves get so much credit. And we are also protected very nicely by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Shukadeva Goswami is going to impart the knowledge about the creative energy. He's starting now by talking about the Lord, glorifying the Lord in so many ways. But we have to remember that what is in the Shastra is for us to live in a particular way. We are also fortunate to be aside from the mundane scholars because they're not even able to translate the true import of Vedic mantras, Vedic hymns. They cannot be understood, Srila Prabhupada says, unless we are inspired or taught by the authorized spiritual master. So that is the importance of the spiritual master. Now, speaking about teaching, Bhagavan Rishabhadev, he talked about things to do and not to do to his 100 sons. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, and text 10, 11, 12, and 13. The first thing that he said was that, my dear sons, you should accept a highly elevated Paramhamsa, a spiritually advanced spiritual master, and by doing that, you will place your faith and love in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He himself, Maharaj Rishabhadev, was an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he put it this way, in this way, you should place your faith and love in me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. First thing, accept the highly elevated Paramhamsa. Now, for us, it's been made very simple. Accept an ISKCON Guru. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya. When we hear that, Sri Srimad, then the name of the spiritual master. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa. So Maharaj Rishabhadev is saying, accept a Paramhamsa. Parivrajakacarya means a sannyasi who travels around, travels and preaches. Paramhamsa. So Maharaj Rishabhadev says, do that. Accept a highly elevated Paramhamsa. Now, first, next thing, the things that keeps us stuck, the things that keep us stuck here in the material world, sense gratification. We should detest sense gratification. We should detest it. We should not like it at all. The reason is that sense gratification keeps us in the material world. If we enjoy our material senses by ourselves, then when the time comes to leave the body, we will be thinking about sense gratification, material sense gratification, and wonder how we can continue the sense gratification. It's about to be taken away from me, especially when it comes to money and so on. Things like that, things that we own for gratifying our senses. Then as soon as we think that way, that means the mind has a picture of the things that are here in the material world. Therefore, the subtle body will carry the soul to another life in the world. So sense gratification sabotages us. And that's why Maharaj Rishabhadev says, get rid of it. Don't think about it. Don't live life that way. Think of Krishna, hear bhajans, hear kirtans, hear lectures, do what's needed in the material energy, but the bulk of your own consciousness should be aligned with Krishna consciousness. And then the material world is also the way it is. We should tolerate the pleasure and pain. It's like that in the material world. Look at it like the changes of the season, summer and winter. They come, they go. Sometimes, some of you in India get very, very, very hot. And other times too, it's a little cool. And then it becomes very rainy and flooding, and we put up with it. Somehow we just go on. So that's how we should also look at pleasure in pain. And he says we should undergo all kinds of austerities and penances for the sake of devotional service. Devotional service is what makes us develop Krishna Prema. So if we undergo all kinds of, don't let anything stop us. Mamcha yoga vicharina bhakti yoga nagana bhakti yogena sevati. Chagunaya samati tetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. If we serve in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and its devotees unfailing in all circumstances, then we'll come up to the higher platform, the spiritual platform. That's where the real pleasure is. That's why Maharaj Shabbadev says, give up the endeavor and detest sense enjoyment, engage in the service of the Lord, and listen to discussions by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will bring happiness. And at the same time, that will also make us humble and take away the false ego that usually gets in the way of decisions that we make. False ego sometimes sabotages us left and right. It makes us make very bad decisions. That's another, topic for another lecture, another time. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has empowered Shukadeva Goswami as spiritual master to preach to Maharaj Pariksit, who is asking the wonderful questions that we need in order to improve our lives and connect with the Lord in bhakti. And ultimately, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, develop Krishna Prema. So, Srila Prabhupada has given us the mercy of such wonderful purports, and we should always be thankful to him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you for listening. And usually at this time, the devotees can unmute themselves and ask questions or whatever it is that they felt inspired to bring up. Even you can ask questions unrelated to this the topic here, and we still do what we can, by the mercy of Guru, to answer them. So please unmute yourself if you have questions or comments. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Accept my humble obeisances. Glory to the Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru Maharaj, and all glory to the Vaishnavas here, and all glories to you.
That's mercy, Guru's mercy.
Prabhuji, yeah. Unfortunately, yet again, I had to join this A class a little bit late because I'm seeing patients, and sometimes it doesn't benefit me to jump in straight away because I'm somewhere else. But anyway, I joined, and I was listening to some points you made, and I think the key in Krishna consciousness, as you mentioned, is the service of the Vaishnavas, which that's what Guru Nitai came to explain and spread and teach us.
Yes.
That yes, we can serve the deities, but actually the true Vaishnavas, which really melts Krishna's heart. And but one point I remember, I think it was a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, he was saying, don't get puffed up because of your service to a Vaishnava. Don't let that make you puffed up that I'm so great, look at what I'm doing, and I'm so, you see, no one can do better than me. He goes, no, don't do that. Sometimes it's nice to serve the Vaishnavas without them even knowing. Whether that be clean their shoes in the shoe room, or it could be anything. It could be anything. Just to put a smile on your own face, and for you to say, I love you, Prabhuji or Mataji. This is something I'm doing for you. And by doing so, we really, really, truly melt Krishna's heart, and we really make Gaura Nitai smile deeply. And this is our success. As you said, Prabhuji, if we can serve one another with love and devotion, truly, truly serve, there's no happier feeling. I'm sure we can all agree that, when we serve one another, we get so happy when we're driving home from the temple or some sangha, and we serve someone, we're so happy within our hearts. And, you know, it can make you tearful that we get so happy. So I urge all the Vaishnavas, and I'm telling myself, you know, that we should always be careful how we serve the Vaishnavas. They are worshipable, and we should never become puffed up.
Yeah, when wonderful, wonderful advice for all of us. You said for your own purification and our purification, we need to have that understanding that serving Vaishnava is very important. Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Puja Abhyadika. Krishna says, if you serve, you worship my devotee, I'm even more pleased than worshiping me. This is the Lord saying that. The spiritual master is a disciple, a devotee, just like we are. He's above us in the parampara, but he's also a devotee and a disciple to his spiritual master. So service is very, very important, but service especially to devotees, we should never downplay that. We should be just as a matter of fact, it reminds me of a point that Ramanujacharya made to his disciples when he was on his deathbed. He was leaving the body. Of course, you can imagine. The disciples were all morose. Some of them were crying and so on. So he decided to leave some words of wisdom for them. And the first thing he said is, first he praised them. He said, you've all served me so, so very nicely, and I'm grateful to you for doing that. Then he gave his first advice. You should serve each other with the same intensity and intent that you served me. It comes to the very point that we're talking about, serving the Vaishnavas. It's very, very, very important. That was his first advice to his disciples when he was leaving the body. So yeah, it's very important. I don't know how we came to this, but it's come to the point where Krishna just pushed this whole idea of service to devotees. It's very important. Actually, it makes the bonding of devotees together very, 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 very nice also. If you help somebody, if you serve somebody, of course your relationship with them will very much improve. They will like what you did. They'll be grateful to you. So imagine serving as many devotees as possible. You'll have a wonderful relationship with all of them. And when you need help, they'll jump and serve immediately because they remember what you've done for them. And we'll be close to the way the living entities, they in the spiritual world serve each other. That's what they do. They're there for each other. And so it's a very wonderful community type relationship. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for your comments. It's wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, any other comments? You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
I can only comment further to Rajmandal Das, how, and you mentioned it very well, that we should be in communication with devotees. I think sometimes the life we lead kind of distances us. We are too absorbed in our own routine. It is important to think of devotees, to talk to them, as you mentioned, and be connected in some way so that you are there for each other. And I think something should be kept in mind to kind of pick the phone or say hello to a devotee and just be there to show your love or care. Today is auspicious Diwali, and me and my wife, we thought let's start with the class so that it is a good start to the new year. It's a time for goodness over evil, and we have to conquer evil in us. And today, Lord Ram returned after his exile. So it's nice to hear you, nice to hear comments. And I wish everybody well, bhakti, happiness, prosperity, and peace from us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your comments.
Lovely Krishna Katha Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Jai. Hare Krishna. So yes, it's very important. Sometimes our situations, make us not able to connect as much as we'd like to, but it is important to do that. Mm. Very, very, very important to do that. And is anyone else? I have some other comments that I'm gonna hold up until the boys ask questions. So if you've unmuted yourself, please go ahead. Anyone?
Hi Krishna Prabhu.
Hi, Krishna. I knew you were gonna say something. Go ahead. Except for humble obeisances, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hi Krishna Prabhu, my humble obeisances, all glories to
Yeah.
the God, all
Yeah,
glories
go ahead.
to Guru Maharaj, and Hare Krishna to all dear devotees.
Hare Krishna, Revati Mataji. Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful, very nice class.
Krishna's mercy.
Yeah, thank you for again reminding us how service is so much important. To even Guru Maharaj also emphasizes like service is the essence of life. So
Mm.
unless we serve, we cannot really taste the love of Krishna. And I like the 3 points which you mentioned, like, it's very important to accept Guru. Then only we can understand, like, this spiritual knowledge and how we can, it's important to get rid of this sense gratification, which is, it's a subtle level. We have still that sense enjoyment. So, Guru's mercy, we are trying to get rid of that sense gratification. And third point, which you mentioned, like, just do what is needed in material energy. So these 3 points are very, very important. And, yeah, thank you so much for a very enlightening class. Yeah, the purport is also so good. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for explaining so nicely. Yeah, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All glories to Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Now, there's a point that I would like to, at this point, bring up, and many of you have been attending regularly His Holiness Chandamali Swami's class, Gurudev's class. Gurudev's class. And he has written a book about this, and he also talked about this quite a bit. That Srila Prabhupada said that we should look for living and even going to the communities outside the cities and looking at living simply with cows and so on. This stepwise type of arrangement for alternative lifestyle, a more natural lifestyle. So this is at the back of our minds, and I'm no exception. So then I began to pray about it. How can that be possible? Here we are, we depend on the city, we depend on our jobs, we depend on, so how can this be started? Then a thought hit me, and I'd like to share with all of you, and some of you are different, and I can see here from the participants, some of you are from different places that also, if you like this message, go out and talk about it. Of course, we can't just quit our jobs and go to the forest and start immediately. It's going to be very difficult unless we have a good chunk of money there that we can actually leave and start, totally like that without a jobs. So many people would like to maintain the jobs because that's their source of sustenance. And so then we began to think and pray about it. And what came to mind was maybe those who are, and this is just a suggestion, maybe those who are working remote, online fully, they don't need to be in a particular place to earn their income. Those people should be the first to get together, to band together and consider seriously going to a place and starting there. One, because if they have the internet connection, they're not going to lose their jobs, because they work remote anyway. So, and a number of us are getting to that point, one person after another, between the companies and the woodies working remotely. So the suggestion is, this is what came to mind, that those who, for every temple, it can actually, maybe the authorities can help with that also. Ask the devotees and get a list of those who are working remotely. And then they can have a meeting about the choice of place close enough to the city, because of course, if you go out and there's medical situations that you need to come to the city, so you can't, maybe 15, 20 minutes away from the city and no more than that. Get a place and begin And what to do, that's been explained in Chanamaya Swami's books, explained by Srila Prabhupada himself. The simple living, some people are doing it already in the different farm communities, get information from them as to what to do and what not to do so you don't make so many mistakes. But that would be the first, I'm thinking the first way to start off, those who are working remote that don't have to be in a particular place in order to connect with where their jobs are, they can start there. And then, later on, we can, others can follow suit. So I wanted to throw that out there to have that at the back of their minds, that those who are working remote now probably should be the first ones to look into, getting out to a simpler environment until they get to the point where the land itself can generate money, and then they can look at their own situation. They can go to part-time or eventually get away from that particular job and be able to sustain themselves nicely also. So I wanted to throw that out there. Hare Krishna. Anyway, any other suggestions or last questions and so on?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
If I may, I just was thinking as well in the lines of my previous point about the Vaishnavas and the service of the Vaishnavas.
Yes.
Also, sometimes what happens is we forget that Vaishnavas that are younger than us are very, very, very exalted. Extremely exalted. Sri Prahlad Maharaj is one of them. A prime example. He was a 5-year-old boy. And sometimes what happens, we fall underneath this illusion or this trap that I am so experienced. I've been in Krishna consciousness for 35 years, 45 years, whatever. And we have this false ego and illusion on us that this new young Vaishnava is beneath me. And that is a very, very detrimental to our spiritual progress, our advancement. And as we've read, it's like a mad elephant running in your home. So we should always be very careful that there are some Vaishnavas that are younger than us, but they are so, so exalted and so beautiful and so loving. And we have to always take a meek position with all Vaishnavas of all ages.
Yes.
Be humble, meek, have the mood of, I am your servant, how can I serve you? We have to always be that in that mood that I am so fallen. I'm truly, genuinely so fallen, so rotten, so unfortunate, and so just uneducated. How can I serve you? So I just want to emphasize the point on age, especially because we see it, we all see it, we do. And it's something we need to all work on, and I speak again for myself.
Very important point. Thank you, Prabhu, for bringing it up. There's so many points that can actually support the statement that you made here. One, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj made this statement, and my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, repeated it in a lecture. He said that, I'll say it directly and then explain, our stock gets better. Our stock gets better. In other words, he's saying that the generations after us, third generation, fourth generation, as we like to call them, fifth generation, and so on, they are actually more advanced souls that are coming in. They are more advanced souls. A good many of them are demigods from the heavenly planets who are coming to do this. Or some of them have also been Vaishnavas in the previous life, and then they're continuing this lifetime. So the actual general meaning of aparad is to make any devotee unhappy. It has nothing to do with age. Any devotee, you make them unhappy, you already committed aparad. So you have to be careful how you approach things and the words that you use. You make sure you don't jab at anyone, and that is for adults or for children. Now, if we look at it also from the point of view of lifetimes, then to bring the question even more, plain to us. And what we mean is, of course, in our traditions, we are all taught to respect elders. That's there. In material living, we're taught to do that. So say we are 40 years old, and there's somebody who is like 70 years old, then of course he's an older person that we respect because the way we raised. And we know that those who are 70 years old, how long do they stay? How long, how many more years? After a short while, they leave the bodies. Now, if the person leaves the body and then comes back, and you're 45 years old, they were 75, they died at 75, and they got born again to continue spiritual life. Now they're a baby, and you're 45 years old. In 10 years, when they're 10 years, you're 55 years. And you look at, oh, he's a 10-year-old boy. No, it's the same soul that you used to respect a few years before they died. Now you think about that. It's the same soul that's going. You're not the body, so you can't go by the body. And if you're not the, we're not the body. We shouldn't have to educate. That's like preaching to the choir. Now you already know that. So if that soul has returned, it could be the soul that you used to respect when you were about 40 years old, and now they've turned around and come back, and now you're just putting them, condescending them. Why? That's why you can't do that. So you have to be. You don't know where they came from, and of course, Dhruva Maharaj, 5 years old. Prahlad Maharaj, 5 years old. Narada Muni, 5 years old. Look at these big names. And you look, oh, they're just 5 years. I'm not doing anything with them. They're in trouble already. So you have to be really, really, really careful. They will respect us as adults, but we also have to be always nice to them. Nice to them. That we always have to be. We have to be careful because you don't know the background of the person that's coming looking like a little baby. Nehemiah was also born. Nehemiah, that's Lord Chaitanya. He was born in the Neem tree, running around Navadvip. Who knew he was the Supreme Personality of God? He didn't identify himself. He didn't want people to know he was God. So then he's 10 years old and Nehemiah, oh, forget about it. You're in trouble. That's the Guru. That is Krishna, the apparat, the Supreme Personality of God himself. So we got to be careful. We got to be careful. They will respect us as adults, but we also have to be very nice to them at all times. Then, of course, we won't have any trouble of any apparats. Hare Krishna. Thank you for bringing that point up.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Glory to Papa. Any final comments? Okay. So thank you all for coming for the class. Again, I apologize on behalf of Chandramani Swami. Of course, he didn't come. That means that he had something that was important enough to pull him away from this class this morning, but we hope next time, because he also preaches daily, so you'll hear him soon, very soon. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vaishnav Thakur ki jai.
Yay.
Oh,
Thank
Premanande
you.
Haribo.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Pariksit Prabhu, it was very nice. Thank you very much.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy, everything Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna. Your name is Susanna?
Yes, still.
Oh, okay. Hare Krishna.
Unfortunately, but I'm trying to. Actually, thank you very much for this explanation, and I completely agree how to start a farm community. And I'm more than little to start a farm community, but I'm starting to find something where this can be carried out. We already live outside of the city, and this is due to being able to work online. So yeah, it's definitely the solution. But yeah, to start cultivating the land, it's a big mission for a couple, or even two couples or three. So I think that we need to cooperate and start this thing very soon. Otherwise, it will be late, I'm sure. So somehow or other, we should. And I will pray that you could do also.
Yeah.
This. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm actually totally convinced that those who are working remote can actually get together and do that. But more people, that's why you need to have as many. You yourself said 2 or 3 couples, even that's difficult to get started. But the more
Yeah.
people there are, the more that then it comes to a point where you can even get some devotees, younger devotees who maybe not working now, to be part of the community. And while you're busy on your computer doing the work, some of the things around the farm that needs to get done will be done by those people, and you take care of them, like that.
Sure.
So it's all, it
Very
can be
good.
planned. Yeah, yeah.
Nice
Hare Krishna.
idea. Hare Krishna. I wish you the
Hare
best.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare
Bless you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Jai. So have a nice, wonderful Diwali today, and Hare Hare. Jai.